I'm curious. Have you heard of Michael Levin?
Hmm.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of what you were talking about, the superorganism, like he's a biologist, but he does all this work um, uh, on cells and worms and like understanding how there's these, you talk about scales, and he's also talking about scales. Like there's, me as the ego, as the individual, and then there's all these small parts that actually, even like, this ego wouldn't even exist if the body wasn't here to facilitate it. And it's like you can be aware of these different scales of like even what's happening in your cells or what's happening inside your body. And we're like removed from that, but using different tools. You get a blood test or something like that, and you see what's happening with your cholesterol, what's happening with your blood, and it's like, oh, there's actually other things happening underneath the surface. And it's almost like you can do the same thing in 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 a social context, right? Like tapping into like what are these hidden unconscious threads, and that people are coming together, and there's something here, this collective that's bigger than just me, bigger than just what I want. And sometimes they may even be like, I have to sacrifice something for the greater good, and like Michael talks about, like you go rock climbing or something, and you kill all these cells, all these skin cells on your hands, and you had a great time. You're like, I had a great time, but it's like the cells didn't have a great time because now they're dead.
Yeah, one of the mind-blowing things I got from like getting stuck into a bunch of Michael Levin interviews and things recently was learning about how cells have agency, and they do collective decision making. And I kind of, before listening to him, I had this model of biology which was like kind of authoritarian, that the I thought that DNA,
Selfish
I
gene,
thought
was it like the selfish gene?
a little bit of that stuff. Well, I just had this thought that like that DNA was like a blueprint, in the way that I learned engineering, like that tells all the cells what to do, and they just get in line and do what they're told. And it doesn't work that way at all. It's like, at least according to Levin, it's like it's more that there's some idea about what the target state is supposed to be like, but there's a lot of autonomy in how you choose to get to that target state, which is how evolution works, is that it can take many different paths. And if one path is blocked, there's another option to go to kind of meet that destination. So it's like, oh, I know that the end state is we're supposed to be a blood vessel. We're supposed to be a tube that lets blood flow, but there's like lots of different ways that these cells can combine to form a successful cell. And if you change the conditions, like if the cell size changes, or if something changes in the nutrient background, or all these sorts of different factors, they can take different paths. It's not determined by the DNA that says this is the way that you do it. And that, realizing that there's agency and decision making happening right down at the level of cells, again, is kind of like a humbling process, because it's not like I have to get up in the morning and think like, oh, I really better organize my blood cells, like it's not up to me. That's something that I inherited for free, either from God or from some evolutionary process. And either way, that's just like an amazing inheritance, and I don't need to control it. And so like maybe that's a bit, I was saying before, I don't know how to walk this tightrope of how much ownership to take. Maybe I don't need to take very much at all, that like that there's a way of just knowing what my place is, and taking my role as one cell in this in this vessel that we're building together, and that the scales below me and the scales above me, they all have agency, they all are effective, they all have power, they all have decision making, and I've just got to be a good organ, that's my job.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that Michael Levin says is that, all intelligence is collective intelligence. So there's almost like this illusory sense that it's me, or it's like my individual thing. And it's almost like we can't help but to function that way. We can't help to feel as an individual, and to feel that, it's my will, or I'm creating something. But it's like there's clearly this process of intelligence that goes beyond us, even like the thoughts and all the things we're exposed, like all the things we start to feel ownership for. Like, these are my ideas. Like, are they really your ideas? Like, where did you get these ideas? Where did these thoughts come from? What are all the things that had to conspire for these ideas and these things to be channeled through you?
I love this phrase. I also, it's sort of like lodged in my brain as well. All intelligence is collective intelligence. I think like I do a lot of writing, like blog posts and things, and also on Twitter. And it's really obvious there, especially on Twitter, where you get very rapid feedback about kind of what people are interested in. When do I say something that resonates? It's so obvious that I'm not generating the content, the popular content, the stuff that really wakes people up. It's always when I'm responding to something that exists in the field, like when I've done a good job of listening and maybe come up with a creative way of synthesizing all these different inputs and said like, ta-da, or like, just, this is my contribution to the thing. That, yeah, I'm much more, yeah, I'm kind of learning that I'm more of an ear than a mouth, it's more about being able to synchronize all these different inputs and like put one little thing back. The thing that I'm putting back there was not really generated by me. I've played a little catalyst role, maybe to slightly shave it here and add a bit there, but really like the source material has not come from me at all. And that's continuously humbling process.
Yeah, way to see through the illusion of being self-made, hyper individualistic, like this sense of being everything's self-made. And yeah, I speak about this a lot. Like this, how do we see through this illusion of like, oh, I did this was me, like I did this all myself. Like whenever I hear this self-made phrase, it's just like it triggers me. It's like, no, you didn't. Like you know how many things had to like help you, how many things had to go in your favor for you to succeed, to get to where you're at right now.
So where did you get that sandwich from for lunch?
Yeah. Yeah, who grew your food? Like, having all this creating fuck you money, and then it's like, well, somebody's still growing your food, somebody's still agreeing to do all these things that you need to keep living, to survive. There's still going to be a doctor seeing you when something's wrong.